If you want to win more projects, you have to estimate faster. At the end of the day, the more you bid, the more you win. It's not rocket science. Now, you can use sales strategies, you can use tactics, you can use the Grant Cardone method to close people. But at the end of the day, the thing that you can do right now that's gonna give you the quickest results is just bid more jobs. And in this video, I'm gonna cover the 15 very best tips that we use every single day in my estimating firm to bid jobs faster. Let's go. All right, so over the course of years doing estimating and submitting proposals, one of the things that I figured out was that the hardest job to get is the first job with a new client. And what typically happens in commercial is you get the first job, and if you do a good job or you do a decent job, there's a high likelihood that you're gonna get another job behind it, that you're gonna get an opportunity to bid the next job. And everybody who you come across, every general contractor, every architecture firm, every developer, they all have jobs coming up. So there's no reason that if you do a good job with this guy, that the next job behind it can't be yours. So our goal in everything we do is to build recurring business. I'm gonna show you how to bid faster, because at the end of the day, what you wanna do is bid more jobs. Me and my team are uniquely qualified to really talk about this, because I own an estimating firm where we've done over $5 billion in projects for our clients. These are developers, general contractors, subcontractors, architecture firms, lenders, home builders. We've done projects for the government. We've done US embassies around the world. We did the US embassy in Jerusalem. So we are uniquely qualified to talk about all things estimating. And these 15 tips you can use right now. And it's the same one that we've used with 3,100 of our clients. So I want to show you exactly how to do that. By the way, if you feel like you need help estimating, or you're really busy and you just can't keep up with your bids, I'm going to put a link here and I'm going to put it in the description too, where you can learn more about our services. Number 15, use digital takeoff software, please. So digital takeoff software is basically on a computer program. You can load up the plans and you can do all of your measurements, your takeoff. So in construction, it's called takeoff. You probably already know this, but for some of you guys who don't know, a takeoff is when you measure and you take off the measurements off the page. The square footages, the linear feet, the counts, the quantities. You can easily do this on the computer. Back in the day, you used to go and print the plans, go on your kitchen table at night at 3 a.m, because obviously you're busy and you don't have any other time. Go to the kitchen table, sit there, get your highlighter, your pen, your pencil, get your calculator, get your architectural scale, and start measuring. Boom, boom, boom. And what takes you days and days and days, you can pretty much do in like an hour or a couple hours on the computer. Because what these digital takeoff software programs allow you to do is you can quickly load up your plans and do all the measurements. Boom, boom, boom. You can scale the page, and you don't really have to sit there and do all the manual calculations. Let the computer do it for you. It's kind of like putting your estimating on super speed mode. We use Plan Swift in our office. We don't even use its full potential. We use it on a super basic level. We use area, count, and linear. So area is like if you're going to get the square footages for flooring or for ceilings or maybe for paint, right? Count is if you're counting doors and windows, things like that. Linear, if you're counting like linear feet of walls, linear feet of footings, things like that. And we build our own assemblies inside of our software that we developed. It's called Capstone. By the way, here's a little secret. We're currently developing a version that we can offer you so you can bid faster, but shh, it's not out yet. So at the end of the day, you can use whatever software you use. If you don't like any of these, you can just go to Google and put estimating software and just have your pick. Number 14, use a construction cost book. So there are companies out there that they publish these books with construction pricing. So they actually update the numbers annually or quarterly, some of them. Nowadays, a lot of these guys have their versions of the books. Like back in the day, it used to be books that they would actually ship to your office, but now they have their versions that are online, like a cloud software. National Construction Estimator, RS Means, there's Walkers, there's BNI, there's a bunch of them. And again, they all do the same thing. And what these companies do is they have researchers that they find out what the prices of materials are, and they get production rates, and they do all the numbers for you. And they actually have consultants that they hire to give them numbers and things like that, and they give you average cost for everything. In my office, we use National Construction Estimator by a company called Craftsman Book. It's one of the best ones, and we use it as a starting point. Now, here's the disclaimer. We use all these numbers as a starting point because in construction, there's no such thing as an exact number. There are way too many variables to figure out what things actually cost in detail. That's why what we all produce is called an estimate. It's an estimated cost for the project. You can't really take into account like, is it gonna rain and you gotta pay the guys for the day, right? That's a loss of revenue there. The cigarette breaks, right? The long bathroom breaks, the texting while they're on the job. These are all variables. At best, what you can do is what we do, which is we add labor modifiers. For example, if I'm building a 20-foot wall, I know I'm gonna need a scissor lift. I know I'm gonna have slower productivity, right? So I'm gonna adjust my labor accordingly. If I am doing a soffit, right? And there's pipes, there's duct, there's a bunch of stuff in the way that's going to slow me down. I have to say, you know, it's going to take me like 50% more time. So let me do a modifier of like 1.5 or something like that, right? The real estate adjusts the prices of construction. A lot of people don't know this. In some areas, in some pockets, you have to look at the real estate because if they're $2 million houses or $3 million or $5 million houses, those people are looking for quality. They're not looking for the cheap guy. Therefore, everybody charges more. I've been in scenarios where subcontractors will charge me different because of where the house is located. So the bottom line is is that the mindset of these guys is if it's in a fancy area, they're going to raise their prices. So that's another consideration to make in the pricing. Number 13, use an estimating template. A lot of contractors, they don't really have a system. And one of the things that I try to do every single day with my clients is give them a system. So what you want to do is you want to estimate with a template, right? You want to use Excel or you want to use Google Sheets, whatever you can. You don't want to do everything by hand because that's kind of old school. What you're going to have to do is when you get your base quantities, your linear footages, your square footages, you have to build assemblies. For example, if you're getting the linear feet of wall, you have to itemize each part, the framing, the drywall, the insulation, the plywood, right? You have to itemize it. And the second thing it's going to do is it's going to make sure that you capture every single thing in the project, that you don't miss it. Sometimes you're doing a corridor and there's like 3 layers of drywall on one side and then 2 on the other side, or sometimes you're doing like a 2-hour rated wall. Whatever the case is, you want to make sure that you don't miss anything. By the way, I'm curious, how are you preparing your assemblies and your pricing? Put it in the comments below. Tell me what software you're using. Tell me what templates you're using. I'm just curious what you guys are doing. All right, number 12, convert pricing into unit prices. One of the biggest mistakes, one of the time wasters that I see a lot of contractors do is they try to prepare a material list to send out to their supplier, which typically takes a long freaking time. To prepare a list is super tedious. You got to calculate every little detail and you have to send it out to the supplier. You got to wait a couple days, get back to pricing. And it's just so much coordination and so much stuff to do that it's so much easier to just convert your numbers into a material list. And here's the thing, a lot of contractors, they get nervous when I say that. The truth is that when we prepare an estimate, I keep saying estimate because it's an estimate, we want to get close because the first proposal we submit to a client is never the last one. Every project that I've ever submitted, the client comes back and says, hey, can you give me a better price? Your competitors are cheaper than you. We're over budget, sharpen your pencil, blah, 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 right? Whatever the case is. So what we want to do is we want to create unit prices for the majority of our items. And if you've been in construction, you probably noticed that you're probably installing the same things over and over and over. So many calculations, and every time you do a calculation, it's like you're burning like brain cells. Now, here's the thing. Once you do this once, if you calculate your cost for 1,000 square foot wall, all I have to do is get my cost divided by 1,000 equals my cost per square foot. Boom, super simple. And now forever and ever and ever, I have a number that I can go to bid that's super, super accurate to the condition of the job. So that's how you use the unit price method. Now, if you like the unit price method, you can actually create your own pricing. So this leads me to number 11, create your own pricing database. So what you might want to do is you might want to create standard assemblies of the things that you always do over and over and over. I know we're talking about estimating faster, but this is kind of like a prerequisite to estimate faster. You create a database of all the most common things, 2x4 framing, 3 5/8 inch framing, 5/8 inch drywall, the concrete, the rebar, the block, the grout, all the stuff that you install over and over and over. And you can do this if you're a GC, you should have your own numbers, especially if you're going to use subs, you got to back check these numbers so they don't abuse you on the price. If you're a subcontractor, you should have all these numbers in a list so you can go boom and go straight to it. Eventually you want to build a team, you want to build an estimating team, you need to have a database for those guys. And if you do that and you build custom assemblies for all the things that you do over and over and over, you're probably going to double your output just by doing that only. Because you don't have to sit there and calculate every detail, every board count, right? You could just do a linear foot count, boom, and now you get your whole assembly. If you're doing footings, you can just get your linear foot count of your footing, boom, and now you have your cubic yards, you have you have everything in one shot, right? Because you already did the math. You don't have to do it over and over and over. By the way, if you need help creating your database or you want some help estimating, I'm going to put a link here. I'm also going to put it in the description and we can set up a strategy session to see what's the best way that we can help you. All right, number 10, use the cost per square foot method to submit your initial proposals. So the first proposal you submit is always a preliminary. So let's repeat, preliminary proposal. So this, what I'm going to teach you is like a cheat code. It's like a hack. If we already know that they're going to ask for a discount and we already know that they're going to say your competitor's cheaper, that they're over budget, if we already know that, then we really don't need to be so precise in our bid, right? We just have to get close and we just have to be above where we want to be. And it's not that we're going to like build in the discount, right? We're not doing that. What we're doing is we're shooting the price as accurate as we can, as fast as we can, because what we want is we don't want to waste 8 hours, 16 hours, 3, 4, 5 days bidding a job when we can do in the same time, we can send 5 bids out, right? Because what happens is if they ask for a discount, that means they're getting closer to awarding the job, right? And they're trying to look at numbers, they're bid leveling, they're trying to compare your scope with the other people's scope. So all we really need to do is get close. Out of the 20 jobs we submit, maybe like, I don't know, 5 of them come back where they start asking a bunch of super technical, detailed things. What, the other 15, oh, we didn't win it. Oh, it went to somebody else. Oh, the job got canceled, whatever the case is. So there's only out of those 20, maybe there's like 5 that you're in the running for. Then technically all you really have to do is estimate those 5. So the cost per square foot method is basically this. If you go back into your history, like for example, look at this year or look at last year, make a list of all the restaurants, the hotels, the residential projects, the offices, the medical, whatever it is, whatever you specialize in. And you can do this as a GC or as a sub, right? And start figuring out patterns. I bet you that you could find patterns for your projects. The point is that if you go and you start doing your patterns, you're gonna start seeing that estimating is, you can really like output more bids if you use this cost per square foot method, knowing that you're gonna have a chance to negotiate it later. Number 9, use change orders in your pricing. If you hate this, put it in the comments below. No, I'm just kidding. Don't put your hate comments. All right, so what happens is almost every single project I've ever done in construction, it's gonna yield about 10 to 30% in change orders, depending on the job, right? Some are gonna be more than others. But if we know this, if you go back into your history and you look at, these last 10 jobs that we did, how much did we get in change orders from each one and what's the percentage? So one job, you'll be like at 5%, another one, you'll be like, 20% more, this, that. The point is that if you know that there's gonna be an extra 10 or 20% coming your way in contract value, we don't really need to be as precise. We can almost shoot from the hip. As long as we're within a 10% margin or a 20% margin, we're pretty good. So don't worry so much. The biggest thing you could do in your estimating is speed, all right? Speed and accuracy. There's a trade-off between speed and accuracy. The better estimator you are, the faster you could be while still maintaining accuracy. But using all these tactics, you can see that if you know that change orders are coming your way, man, we don't have to be so precise. We could just a lot quicker. So keep that in mind when you're estimating. Number 8, outsource your estimating. The most powerful thing you can do as a business owner is outsource your estimating. So for example, we work with GCs, developers, architectural firms, subcontractors, and we prepare construction costs. Sometimes it's for subs trying to bid the job. Sometimes it's GCs trying to bid the job. Sometimes the developers are trying to prepare budgets for their projects for the bank or whatever the case is. So a lot of our clients, we not only do we do the bid for them, but we also help them with the closing strategy. So it really doesn't help you to just estimate a job. You have to close the job. You have to get the strategies to do it. And that's one of the things that we help our clients with. Another benefit of using an estimating firm is that the good estimating firms carry a professional liability insurance for errors and omissions. So in other words, if we were to miss something, you're fully covered. So if we make a mistake, we forget the ceilings or whatever it is, you're covered up to $1 million. And not every estimating firm has it. If you hire a freelancer on Fiverr, if you hire a guy from Upwork, if you hire a guy from whatever website, they're not going to have that. So that's one of the benefits of using an estimating firm. As a business owner, we always have to be looking for ways to increase our bid output without giving ourselves more work. I have 13 estimators. I have 2 senior estimators. We have our account management team, our bid coordinator team. So we are equipped where we could literally plug into your office right now. We could plug into your team and boom, start bidding the jobs. Instead of you going out there hiring somebody, paying $100,000 a year, plus medical benefits, unemployment insurance, what else? Workers' comp, paid time off, all that stuff. We're typically on average about 65% less than if you went out there and hired somebody. Our estimators have been with us for years. And I always say that in order to learn estimating, you need to do at least 100 jobs to kind of know what you're doing. By 200 jobs, you're all right. Once you get to like 300, 400, 500 jobs, then you've pretty much seen it all and you've made all the mistakes you're gonna make and now you're rocking and rolling. That being said, if you want help with your estimating, click on the link above and I'm gonna put it in the description below. All right, number 7, don't waste time getting caught up in the details. A lot of times when you estimate, you have the tendency to get caught up in the weeds. Sometimes the drawings are not that good. They're missing details. The structural engineer doesn't put something. The architect misses a section. They label it wrong and you're like freaking out, like trying to find something and you can't. Something's hidden in a note somewhere, right? In a lot of cases, there's conflicts in the drawings, right? Sometimes in the ceiling heights and things like that. Remember, what you're preparing is an estimate, right? So you kind of have to gauge, like, is this big ticket versus small ticket? Like, this is the rule of thumb. The more expensive the thing is, the more time you have to look into it, right? If you get caught up and you can't figure something out, then just put a budget on it, put an estimate and continue, right? Now, if it's a huge ticket item and you just can't figure it out, obviously that's different. But for 90% of the things, boom, quick, put a budget and move on. Because at the end of the day, what have we been talking about? Preliminary estimate. They're going to ask for a discount. They're going to want to review the job. They're going to give you a scope of work, right? All these things before the contract is even given. You're going to have the opportunity to adjust your bid if necessary. All right, we're in the home stretch. Number 6, use the high budget method. I learned this tactic from a commercial GC that he does multi-million-dollar projects. He actually told me this. He said, Daniel, if I was a sub, I would make up a number and I would just submit as many proposals as I can. And I would just make sure that I was like super high, because he says that what happens is he usually gets a lot of scope gaps. So he sends out proposals and he's missing like numbers for a bunch of trades. And he says that 2 things. 1, you might get lucky and you get one of these out of towners, or you might run into the GC not having somebody for that specific trade and boom, you can get premium rates without having to spend all the time estimating. Or 2, they're going to call you up and you're going to be in the running and you're going to be able to have an opportunity to estimate it later, right? So in other words, we're shooting from the hip, right? You'd be surprised if you look at the job. Like, I can look at a job and roughly know where I'm going to be at, right? You probably could do the same thing. Oh, this is an interior build out. There's this many square foot. I'll probably be like at 50, 60,000 bucks. Oh, this is the flooring. Oh, it's probably gonna be around this. If you've been in construction for long enough, you probably have have that sixth sense. So this is one of the tactics. So in short, guess, right? What you can do is you can do a combination. So recently I was talking with one of my electrical contractors. He's out of Hawaii. I asked him, what's your average cost per square foot? And he says, oh, my average cost per square foot is about $47 a square foot. And I said, all right, perfect. And I go, what you're going to do moving forward is on all your jobs, you're going to bid $47 a square foot. Obviously, if they're similar, you're going to use $47. And what you're going to do is that's going to give you the general price. And then you, as the expert, are going to look at specifics. Is there a generator? Are there transformers? Are there expensive light fixtures? Is there a panel that we need to, I don't know, an expensive panel? And I said, what you do is you get that $47. Boom, that gives you your price, your base price. And then now you add like, okay, $20,000 for the generator. All right, $10,000 for this, $20,000 for this. Boom, boom. And now you prepare your price. And boom, you submit. And what you do in like 20 minutes, you're going to be surprised that you're going to be pretty close to the number. When you call your GC, they're going to tell you, hey, Zach, you're kind of high, but the number to be at is around this. Oh, you got to be at around $100,000. Beautiful. Now we have a target, and now like a sniper, right? We're going to go back. We're going to re-estimate that job in detail. But like I said, if you do this for 100 jobs, you're probably going to be in the running for a small percentage. So technically, you only really need to estimate that small percentage. Follow me? And boom, then you estimate that job, submit, boom, and now you're outputting a lot of bids. Number 5, use a pre-written proposal template. There's no point in rewriting the same thing over and over and over. What you should do is create a proposal template with all of your general inclusions, all of your general exclusions, and all of your general alternates, right? All the stuff that you're always putting over and over and over. So make yourself a proposal template that already has that. And then all you have to worry is putting the specifics of the job. Number 4, use the SIEG proposal method. All right, so the SIEG proposal method should take you 15 minutes to write your proposals. So SIEG stands for specific, inclusions, exclusions, alternates, and general. So in other words, we're gonna be as specific as we need to be. We're going to put our pre-made, right? We talked about number 3, our pre-made inclusions, exclusions, and alternates, and we're going to put our general items, right? What I find is a lot of contractors, they're too detailed in their estimates. And I think detailed is good. As a rule of thumb, you want to be detailed, but sometimes they get caught up and they spend hours writing a proposal, right? You need to be submitting these things faster. The rule of thumb is you want to have your general descriptions, right? You want to pre-make them, and then you only have to get specific whenever necessary. So for example, if I'm doing framing and drywall, furnish and install framing drywall installation per wall and ceiling types, right? That's general, right? The plans are going to tell me the details. So I'm basically saying, hey, go look at the plans. That's what we're building. But there are certain cases where there's conflicts. So whenever you do these proposals, you got to think like, you got to almost foresee the future. What can potentially become a conflict? What can potentially become an issue? So that being said, do proposals faster. Number 3, if you're a general contractor, estimate your own jobs. Don't send them out for proposals. Most GCs spend so much freaking time getting proposals. There's actually entire departments where their sole job is just to reach out and ask subs for proposals. That's all they do. Blah, 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 blah. They get 100 calls a day, almost like cold calling, right? What happens is a job might take you from start to finish 3 or 4 weeks to get all the proposals when you can literally spend like 8 hours if you just had an estimator that was proficient. And if it's a big ticket thing or something that's ultra specialized, you do need a proposal because there's no way for you to accurately estimate a price for something you have no clue, right? But if it's like framing, drywall, concrete, paint, like those are all standard things. Any estimator should be able to get quantities using a takeoff software, right? And later, if you get the job and using all these tactics and strategies, if you're going to get the job, then you can go out and start calling up your subs and like, hey, look, we're about to get a contract. Send me your best price. Boom, boom. Have a budget of around this. Boom, boom. And it's a lot easier. Another thing is when you're a GC, if you win the job, right? If you win the project, when you call up your subs, so much easier to get a proposal. It's almost like pulling teeth sometimes. And I'll tell you why, because most subs are small companies and they're out there, they're busy, they don't have an estimating department. Probably the owner is the same guy that does the estimates, is the same guy installing, the concrete or the drywall, whatever it is. It's the same guy driving the excavator, right? How do I know this? Because I work with them every single day. Those are the guys that call me. They're like, oh, I'm so stressed. I'm missing out on bids. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's funny because like if you look at when people sign up on our website, there's a lot of people signing up at like 11 at night, 1 in the morning, 3 in the morning, because they're up at night doing their bids. And then they're so stressed out. They're like, somebody has to be able to do this for me. So bottom line is, if you're a GC, bid your own jobs. Number 2, we're almost there. Estimate multiple trades per project. And you're going to literally 5x your chances of winning a job. And I'm going to tell you why. If you're a GC or a sub, you can both do this. The most powerful thing you can do is bidding multiple trades per project. I have clients that are GCs, that they're doing their GC work, but I'm also bidding packages. In other words, they're becoming like a super sub. And what happens is when you come to bid with multiple trades, one, you could run the job like a GC, right? You could subcontract your piece workers. You can use your own internal crews. Those are the guys that can do the work for you. And 2, you're going to be able to negotiate the package, right? And the reason I say that this is a way to do it faster is because if you're already on the job, let's say you estimate $70,000, right? And you're already on the job, it's a lot quicker to just add paint, flooring, demo, and a couple other things while you're already on the job. And what's going to happen is your $70,000 might become $300,000. right? And what happens is a lot of GCs, if you're bidding for a general contractor, they like giving a package because that's less coordinating for them. Secondly, you have an advantage when you come to negotiate because every time you submit a price, you're trying to fight apples to apples, right? But the way I negotiate is I negotiate the package. And you might find that your drywall number is more expensive, but your paint number is cheaper. So you could be like, all right, let me drop my drywall number because I don't need as much. And you might say, you know what, I don't need as much supervision, so I can cut some supervision here, I can cut some overhead here, because you don't need to have 5 sets of supervision, 5 sets of overhead, 5 sets of profit. You might be coming into bid where you can cut some of your profit. Instead of being at 30% and making $150,000, or you might be content making, let's say your profit margin is 30% off of this $300,000 contract, right? Normally, you might be coming in at about 100 grand in profit. You might be happy making 50,000 bucks off this job, especially that a lot of those trades overlap and you're using the same guys. So you can drop your price significantly in a way that your competitors cannot compete. So that's how you bid as a package. So while you're doing the job, you can just 5x your return so you don't have to bid as many jobs. That's why I say this is one of the tactics to do it faster. And number 1, do bid sprints. So doing a bid sprint essentially is you're going to use our prospect farming method to identify the very best clients, and you're going to cut the time wasters. And once you find the guys you want to use, you're going to go all in on bidding, and you're going to bid them back to back to back to back to back, because the only way to stand out of the crowd and stand out above your competitors when they don't really know you, the only way to do it is by bidding back to back to back to back so that they get to know you. So if you want to learn exactly how to do that, bid sprints combined with all these tactics and combined with bidding packages, that's the most powerful thing you can do. So if you want to learn how to do that, I made a video right over here where I actually cover in depth how to do prospect farming, how to do bid sprints, how to really squeeze out, how to build those relationships with the client so that you can get the most out of it. And the secret is by doing bid sprints. So watch this video over here.